Welcome to Adventure, an e-commerce podcast that isn't just about numbers and profits. It's about the visionaries who've carved their path, navigated challenges, and left an indelible mark on the e-commerce landscape. So get ready to be inspired, informed, and immersed in a world where innovation meets commerce. Joining us today is Tommy Henbest, Partnerships and Business Development Manager for Taxually. Tommy's an e-commerce expansion strategist focused on building partnership relationships between service providers in the e-commerce industry, as well as offering expansion strategies for sellers to assist in the growth of their online business. Tommy's had a specific experience and focus in VAT, logistics, and fulfillment in e-marketplaces across the globe. Also joining in on the conversation will be Joseph Phillips, account manager with BidX. Joe has a passion for all things e-commerce, and at BidX, he handles ad strategy for enterprise clients in the US. So welcome, Tommy, and welcome, Joe. Thanks for being here. I'm going to just jump right in. So what I really want to know, Tommy, is your personal journey. How did you get started in the e-commerce sort of landscape? And specifically, I know that you've dealt a lot with tax, tax issues, growth, expansion, dealing with taxation in lots of different marketplaces. So give me the rundown. That's not, is that what you wanted to be when you grew up, or?
Well, I think, I think it's very small amount of people in the world want to grow up and work in, first of all, tax and e-commerce. But really, first of all, thank you both for having me on today. Really excited to go through some bits and pieces and take a deep dive into the maybe exciting life of Tommy Henbest. But how did I get started? Wow. So about 5 years ago now, I was working at a logistics company. So ever since we've left like school, college, I've always worked in sales. And I was like a sales representative or a lead sales representative for a UK-wide logistics company. So this wasn't e-commerce related. This was dealing with like security cameras, locks, doors, not very interesting in pieces of equipment. And I was kind of keeping my eye out for jobs. I was always looking locally at the time, just because I was kind of in that mindset, a bit younger, and wanted to be in an office, enjoyed the office environment, etc. And I saw a job interview for a local company who, it was like business development, a sales manager, working in a firm in e-commerce. And at the time, I'd heard of e-commerce. I knew a bit, obviously, what it was. Everyone's heard of Amazon, eBay, etc. And a good friend of mine who I've known since actually I was 2 years old, Thomas Meek, worked in a tax company, not Taxually, a different one. So I spoke to him. I said, first of all, have you heard of this company? He says, yes, I've worked with them before. They're very reputable. And I said, what do you think? Should I do it? And Thomas, as soon as he heard I might be any interest in getting into e-commerce, he was really quite, not forceful, but very keen.
Join me, come to the dark side.
Give me lots of tips. Give me lots of tips and things to say in the interview, etc. So I went there. That company is called Global E-commerce Expert. Great company. Still have a really good relationship with them. So I joined there, probably about 3-4 years ago now. Worked in GE and got a really good level of experience of the whole e-commerce cycle. So they focused on expanding sellers into Europe they have in-house VAT services, compliance, big logistics center, account management piece as well. So I started off as business development manager there. And about 2 years in, I moved into the partnership manager role within GE. So loved speaking to sellers, loved building relationships in the industry, really got a buzz out of growing people's businesses and seeing tangible results of someone who is maybe just selling in the US and launching a brand in the UK successfully. So business development managing for about 2 years there. So speaking to sellers on a day-to-day basis, understanding their issues, their troubles, especially around VAT. So the first piece that you always need to look at is VAT compliance before you think about going into a new region. You need to make sure your company itself is going to be compliant. And then it was very much logistics focused. How are we going to physically get you into Europe, distribute your goods, get them into FBAs or direct to consumer fulfillment networks, etc. And then, yeah, just kind of speaking to as many people as possible in that industry. From doing that sales business development side, I was always at the trade shows, like the white label, the Prospers, etc. And often when you're at them trade shows, you'll have people coming up to you and saying, okay, we offer a similar service, or we offer a service that might complement you. Would you be interested in starting up a partnership? And at the time, it wasn't anything that I'd ever thought about, or like we didn't have too much consideration for. We had some partnerships in place, but then that started to really excite me as well. How can our company assist your sellers and vice versa? How can we fit into each other's, whether it's onboarding flow or lead referral, cross promotional activities? So that was when I became the partnership manager there. Did that for around I think coming up to a year at Global E-commerce Experts. And then my old friend Thomas Meek and the Taxually team, who I'd known and been at events with, etc., kind of said, okay, we've got a position coming up here at Taxually to work in business developments and partnerships, but obviously very VAT focused. And you know what these things are like. You sit there, you talk for a while, and then at that point, I've kind of like fancied a new challenge. Obviously, I knew and trusted Tom for a long time. I knew the other members of the team, Robert, the vice president, and Alex, sales manager as well. And yeah, decided to make the jump to Taxually. And yeah, coming up to, I think, 6 months in now. And yeah, it's going really well. Tom and I have built out some successful partnerships. We've expanded lots of sellers into new regions across Europe. And yeah, here we are.
Yeah, so interestingly, that's how we met, was when you were with Global E-commerce Experts. So
it was indeed, yes.
I'm not stalking you, I promise. I'm just going to follow you to every job you go to so that we can expand our partnerships. No problem.
Sometimes that's what you've got to do, isn't it, Jeanette? You've got to be a stalker. You've got to be a pest to build a good partnership. Don't worry, I've been there, so no problems.
It's so funny. It is kind of like a small world, though, right? And what I love about the e-commerce sort of landscape, especially with partnerships, is there is zero gatekeeping at all. Everybody that I have met has been the most open, the most welcoming. I'm fairly new to that sort of, game too. And everybody has just allowed me so much grace in, learning and growing in that position. So it's just really nice to stay connected, even now that you're with Taxually. I think Joe had a few follow-up questions for sure.
Yeah. Speaking of gatekeeping there, I feel like there's a few things that kind of hold up a lot of people from expanding internationally. And a lot of it stems from your background, logistics and tax. Tax specifically, what are the biggest hangups or things that take the most time for most people when they're looking to expand into the EU?
I'd say one of the main things is registration. So to get VAT registered in the bigger regions in Europe, specifically UK and Germany, is going to take you 2 to 3 months. So I always say to sellers or people that I speak to, as an example, who haven't expanded yet, this is maybe at a trade show or over an email conversation or a Zoom call. If you're thinking about doing it and you've got a specific time frame, e.g. Q4, or you want to launch for Q1, make sure you speak to an expert beforehand, maybe 6 months before you want to do that. I know sometimes it's hard to say, okay, I want to launch in 2 to 3 months, and you physically can't at that point. So if you're even having the slightest thought in the back of your head saying, oh, I would quite like to sell in Europe, speak to an expert, have a conversation with them beforehand, and they will let you know really in black and white how long it's going to take, the process, the costs, the time frame, and then that's all laid out on a paper. And then you as a business can make, I guess, a risk calculated decision. There are also lots of tools, I'd say, Joseph, in terms of before you expand to a network, where lots of account management companies will be able to do like a free audit on Europe. So they'll be able to look at like your competitors, their price points, potential market share, regions where your product could be higher performing. And a lot of the time they are completely free to offer, and it can be quite a good proof case to say, okay, we do have a market in Europe. Let's take the jump as a business across to do so.
Wow. Oh, interesting. Yeah, I think that's definitely the right way to do it, and especially with like a free campaign audit or free market audit, kind of see how you would place kind of before you go into it. Seems like the way to do it. With that, do you see like among newer markets, are people kind of going in one particular direction or another? Is there like a hot zone you see people trying to expand to right now?
Yeah, 100%. No, there are definitely more budding markets, and there's probably more existing, more established markets, definitely in the European side. So obviously, the people that are listening into your podcast will know about the size of Amazon US. They say if you're doing about obviously 100 million a year, to make the figures easy, in the US, and you are fully optimized across the EU markets in terms of Amazon, you'd be looking at doing about 80 million. So about 80% of your US sales is accessible in Europe. That figure was probably from about a year ago, give or take, depending on your product, market share, et cetera, et cetera. Mm-hmm. So to break down, I guess, the European network even further, you have 7/9 main regions, which are called the Pan-European network. That is UK, Germany, Italy, France, Spain, Czech Republic, Poland, and now Sweden and Netherlands have just been added recently. So they're all operating in the same way that the FBAs do in the US. You can have maybe one entry point, you send your goods into France, and then Amazon, being the logistical company they are, they'll distribute your goods into all these different networks, which for you as a seller who doesn't really have feet on the ground in Europe, makes it a lot easier. You only have to worry, okay, we need to get X amount into this place here. And then maybe when we're at 40-30% stock, we need to start thinking about getting more stock into Europe. To break down, I guess, them regions even further, UK and Germany are substantially quite the biggest markets in Europe. So generally, if I'm advising on someone's strategy about how to go into Europe, you'd want to test one of them two markets first if you're going for maybe a softer start. If you're cash rich, you've had a really good 2 years of growth in the US and you want to hit the ground running in Europe, 100%, go into the Pan-EU, go into all seven countries. But if you're looking to maybe test the water more, generically speaking, people would go into UK, Germany, or both, and then start pushing on more regions from there. At the same time, if you're selling maybe olive oil from the US and you're looking to launch in a region, maybe you want to look at your Italy's or something like Spain's. But generically speaking, UK and Germany are the best.
And are there, on the flip side of that coin, are there certain places where you would, I guess, at least wait until you're a little more established to go into, like high tax zones, low sales, just kind of not worth it on the start?
I mean, there's obviously Europe's got lots of countries here. And yeah, a lot of them don't have a huge e-commerce market. I mean, even in terms of like Poland, as an example, Amazon isn't even the biggest market. They have a more localized marketplace called Allegro. So always speak to, like, as I said, an expert. There are probably countries which don't have great fulfillment networks, which probably wouldn't be worth like at least storing goods in. But then in Europe, as you have in USA, there is a large group of 3PLs over here. And if you have the right tax setup in place, so something called one-stop shop, you can have a warehouse 3PL in Germany or France, and you can sell direct to consumer all over Europe. So maybe into your Nordics or maybe into your Eastern European countries. And then 3PLs will enable you to do so, whether it is on Amazon, your Shopify store, your WooCommerce store, or more localized marketplaces like your Allegro, Zalando, places like that.
Yeah, it's really interesting. We've been talking to a few people. I know for sure the Nordic region opening up, they've sort of done it in country for so long. They're not strangers to online marketplaces, but certainly a little bit new to Amazon. So that whole region opening up, and, in Mexico and Latin America as well. But, every region sort of has their like sticking points, both with logistics, and even just custom things, specific to that region that really would benefit you from speaking with an expert, or else, I'm sure you could get like trapped in bureaucratic red tape for 3 years or whatever. Interestingly too, I do believe like South Africa is going to be opening up the marketplace in 2024. So any thoughts on that? Any predictions? Or
very exciting. We've got some team members out in South Africa, and we know they're very excited about the possibility of that coming, and the FBA model opening up. I think they're quite established in terms of the country, obviously the economy and how they operate in terms of technology and logistics. So yeah, I think that will be a huge budding market. We're also seeing, we've just started servicing the Middle East in terms of tax as well. So we've had lots of requests there. Japan, Australasia, and New Zealand, we'd say that they're going to be the next biggest kind of Amazon spaces, as well as obviously your Mexicos. And I know Canada's been reasonably established for a while as well. So
with those new markets, does Amazon give you any kind of incentive to expand over there? Like your first 50K in sales, for instance, or tax-free?
I don't, to be honest, I don't know if there is any incentives going on at the moment. I know they will offer the standard kind of offer of opening a new Seller Essential account in a region, of boosting your IPI score, so they'll give you a higher listing. But if I was giving advice to a seller and you are thinking about launching into a region like then, I would say, why not? You can get your stock in there before your competitors do, get a higher market share, build up a customer base in that zone already. If you've got the cash to do so, it's not going to cost you a huge amount more if you're sending goods across to Europe, to send them to Africa, to send them to the Middle East, especially if they're coming from China. So all you really be paying for is your standard, your FBA fees and your logistics and your tax, which you're going to be paying in certain regions anyway. So why not tap into a new market where there's a fresh new customer base, fresh market share, and do it before your competitors do?
Why not? I think that's the perfect answer.
All right. Well, Tommy, are you ready for a few non-tax related questions here?
I'm not used to this now, so I feel like this is where I feel under pressure. I didn't feel under pressure about tax, but on the spot. Let's do it.
I'll start slow. I'll throw you a few questions, and then we'll do our little speed round and really get to know you. Okay, so what book would you recommend that everyone read? A for business, and then B for pleasure.
Crikey, it's been a while since.
You can pass. You can pass if you.
I did. I tell you what. There was a good book. I didn't read all of it, but I'm going to give a general answer. It was the Chimp Paradox book. I didn't read all of it, but I remember lots of my previous managers and people that I've worked with has always recommended that. And I think there's quite a lot of insight into business relationships, how people communicate into that book. So I'm going to give that as an answer.
I'm going to start writing all of these down. I'm going to ask this question at every interview because everybody I'm interviewing is like the smartest people I know. So hopefully I can, elevate myself. Okay, let's see. If you could switch roles with any colleague for a day, who would you switch with and why?
I would switch, if I could switch roles with anyone, in my company?
Yes, in your company.
I would switch roles with my CEO so I could use his business card for lunch and dinner for the day.
Good answer. Now he has to switch with you then. I don't know if he would enjoy your job as much.
It's all right. I've still got a bit left on my business card for the last 2 trips, so he can maybe have a McDonald's or a Subway.
Okay, we're gonna just go for the speed round, Tom. Are you ready?
Let's do it.
All right. Cat or dog?
Oh, dog, absolutely. Even though she chewed up my passport recently.
Dogs do that. I was dog sitting recently and she ate my Beatles box set. So
this was really bad. I came back from Hungary and I had a flight in 2 weeks. And because she missed me, she picked it up, chewed it up. And then I had to drive to Wales, which is obviously part of the UK, to get an emergency passport for my next trip. So even though the answer should probably be cat, really, shouldn't it? But no, I do love my dog. So
you can't really show up and say my dog ate my passport and get a pass, like
I had to show them a picture. I just gave them a chewed up passport, and I was like, honestly, it's like the
here's their
homework at school. My dog ate it, but no, it was legit.
So I'm the indoor nanny cam video of the dog doing it. Okay, coffee or tea?
Coffee.
Same. Early bird or night owl?
Depends. If I'm on work trip, I'm an early bird. I can't sleep well. Whereas I'd say if I'm at home, I'm probably more of a night owl. I'd say I'd prefer to be up later.
Summer or winter?
Summer. I'm wrapped up like this. Not used to it.
Adventure travel or relaxation?
Adventure travel every day of the week. Skiing trips.
I'll have a follow-up question to that. Android or iOS?
Stupid question. iOS.
Or biking?
Sorry, what was that?
Hiking or biking?
Biking.
Book or movie?
Movie.
Introvert or extrovert?
Probably an extrovert.
Just a little bit. Pancakes or waffles?
Ooh, that's a tough one. Pancakes, just because it's more of a thing here in the UK. We have Shrove Tuesday, where I fail and flip loads of pancakes on the floor.
City life or country life?
Depends, but I think if I was to look in lifestyle, I'd say country life overall. Do like the city.
All right, and your entire future hangs on this one, Tommy. Online shopping or in-store shopping?
Online every day of the week.
So I just had to throw a trick question in there for you. So to follow up with your answer on adventure, since this is the Adventure podcast, we always have to ask everybody, what's the most adventurous thing that you've ever done?
I don't know. I do like adventure things. So I like being active. I love, like, as I said, like skiing, holidays, that kind of thing. I could think some stories of me probably at the Après Ski Club and stuff like that, but I won't post that. I won't talk about that online. The most adventurous thing I've done, I can't think. It sounds really bad, actually. I can't think of anything too adventurous, but I would say that when I do adventure, I do sometimes go a bit crazy. So I've had a bad knee injury from probably skiing in levels which I probably wasn't level to, and I had to have ACL surgery over there. So it's not really a story; it's more of a bad experience. But I still go back. So
I would definitely say you sound like an extrovert then, and I guess I shouldn't, YouTube search, Tommy Henbest crazy antics.
Yeah, mate. I don't think that. Not. It's normally just these that if you type my name into YouTube, I think. Not that I've done it before, but but yeah. I don't think I'll have too many crazy things online. I say to the no camera zones.
Yeah, that's kind of the downfall of the tech today, right? Everything is so accessible. You're literally everywhere, and you can't kind of like fly under the radar unless you completely go off the grid. I just wanted to thank you for your time. If you wanted to take, 60 seconds or so to talk about Taxually or your latest project, we would love to hear about it.
Yeah, absolutely. I won't go too much into a sales elevator pitch as much, but I'd say, if you are thinking about expanding your business, definitely worth having a consultation with us. We'll be able to talk through, as I said, time, processes, what an expansion looks like, how you can do it, etc. And Taxually has a software which enables you to integrate with all your main marketplaces, your Shopify's, your Amazons, localized ones, and that will help you save time in your filings and also costs by up to 50 to 80%. So yeah, just give us a call. We always consult people. If we don't think it's a good move for you, then we'll say so. And hopefully I might speak to some of you in the future.
Well, we definitely appreciate all of the insights. We'll make sure we put links for Taxually in the show notes, and make sure you hit subscribe for the Adventure podcast so you can keep up to date on all of these amazing business leaders in the e-commerce landscape. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you very much for your time, guys. Everyone subscribe, and really nice to speak to you both today.
Thanks, Tommy. Take care.
Thanks.